Have you ever found it difficult to actually have a really productive day when you can't do everything all at once? You just decide like not to do it at all. Like if I had 1 hour to go do an errand, I couldn't just prioritize the one that needs to be done the most and that be okay. I had to be like, well, if I can't do 20 errands in an hour, then I might as well just stay home because I just don't have time to do it. That is perfectionism. It's very captivating sometimes as far as your energy and productivity levels. Anyway, it's like perfectionism and procrastination and anxiety, kind of those things like in a good cocktail together, leading to like lack of productivity out of fear. Okay, side note. I'm just saying that was a side note. Here was really, really present to share. It is the eve of my mother's passing anniversary 2 years ago. 2 years ago, this was basically the last day she was alive, going into the last evening and the last night until tomorrow morning when she transitioned. And I was with her every single minute. Not even just from the eve, from the entire last month. I was definitely there the last minute for the last solid week, but for a month I traveled back and forth from the hospital that she was in so that I could be with her as much as possible. In the beginning, I really had hope that we would have more time, even though she was going to need 24-hour care. She would never be able to speak again, but we were hoping that maybe the brain tumor would give us a little more time, but it was already taking over. So that was the hope in the beginning, and then that just became more and more evident as the weeks went by that we were not going to get that much time. So I did everything I could to be there for every single minute. It was a very powerful time in my life. I was completely changed after that experience. Completely changed. It was a transitional moment for me too. Whew, so today we made an ancestor altar because last night we were in ceremony with her and allowed more grieving to come, just like let the grieving happen, just sat there and cried and let out some sadness. And then today realized that everything that was part of that ceremony, some crystals and the cards and her picture, was actually, as they're always altars, but that her altar was very clearly being felt to stay there for like the next several days through the whole transition. So we set up the altar where I had just made it on the floor. We put it onto the pedestal table with the brass tray that was hers that she gave me, and put her picture and the crystals that she held during the transition, and her favorite color is purple, so we represented purple, and she loved amethyst. We just did this whole altar for her as our ancestor, and it felt so honoring and just brought a whole other level of like peace and love to my heart around my mom's death. Unexpected death. Oof. And the healing that still is going down for me around that. But the share is to try, as an experiment, let's say, if you have an ancestor, a loved one who has passed, that there's still a lot of healing around that needed, and the grief to be experienced. Because once we experience grief, once we actually let it happen, it heals. As in, it does not that it goes away, but it's not painful. It's now alchemized with love and radical acceptance and trust in life that she went when she was supposed to go. And just no matter how much I didn't want that to be, it happened. And to come to peace with that understanding, just, it feels so much better than the pain I can carry around in my heart when I'm in like, why did this have to happen? Why did she have to die? I miss her. This sucks. Sometimes it doesn't feel fair. So the grieving helps clear that inner space, because the peace can't come in, that acceptance can't come in if it's just filled up with the pain. So we gotta grieve, purge that like a good closet purge. Seriously. Once you do that, you're like, oh, look, now there's space. It's the same thing. I had to let some of that grief that'd been, building up for several months now, just in those moments of when, like, I thought of her and I missed her and, just sat with it and then kind of like moved on. It's like those little moments just build up, and so I felt like it was like, okay, it's time for a good cry about mom. And timely, because it's, again, the anniversary. We're so close to that moment in time in which that happened 2 years ago. So the grieving and then the like bringing in this like loving power of the ancestor altar, a representation, a physical representation of who that person is for you now, especially in their non-physical form, as your ancestor, as your angel, as your guide, as your just love and support beyond the veil, in pure energy form, but still totally there for you, still totally available and willing to love and support and help you in any way, anytime you need it. And you just simply ask. You simply acknowledge that you believe that power is there supporting you, and that we get to help support that belief with this physical representation of the altar that's in your space, and you sit within, and you're reminded of it, and it remains there even as you go about, so that you can just glance at it and be like, oh, reminder. Yeah. It's a magical world out there. It's a magical world. And my mom is part of it. And I'm really grateful for that. And I'm really grateful for that knowing, and that with that knowing, I feel her presence with me. It still makes me cry. But it's like those, like, that like happy Like, my heart feels so, like, full of love. Cry. That's the power of her love. And it's there for me all the time. And it's simply becoming present with knowing that she is. Woof. It's a good sesh. So, the ancestor altar, I highly recommend it.